Mother-in-law destroyed the only wedding gift I got from my family. I'm on new account as opposed to my usual one for privacy reasons. My mother-in-law is a very cold person to me in general. I'm an immigrant and I speak my husband's native language at a very basic level. That does create some language barrier, however somehow we managed to break it with my father-in-law. He speaks to me slowly, uses simpler words, points at things, gesticulates etc. Mother-in-law however never tries to speak to me, doesn't even say thank you when I hand her something, or hold the door open for her. Her facial expressions are also very indifferent. She doesn't smile to me, and sometimes I get impression she gives me a dirty look. My husband just brushes it off as, she is harsh towards everyone, it's not about you, and it's not personal. Either way it makes me feel uncomfortable. Because of the fact I'm an immigrant and I come from a relatively poor country, there were only 4 family members that were able to fly over to my wedding, and due to baggage limitations they brought me one physical gift. It was a painting based off of our engagement picture that my cousin painted herself. It wasn't some kiddish painting too, it looked like it belonged in an art gallery. When I saw it for the first time I cried from happiness. It was the best gift I could imagine as I love art and handmade gifts. It stood proudly on my bedside table, so I could look at it every time I wake up. Fast forward few months after our wedding, we were moving from one place to another. We asked parents-in-law to store the painting for us, because I was scared it will get damaged. They agreed. I wrapped it in layers of foil, and handed it to them. 2 weeks after we moved I finally asked, if can I have my painting back? Mother-in-law looked at me a bit puzzled, as if she already forgot about its existence, then went, oh I think I know where it is. She went to her porch, and pulled it out from behind some planks of wood. It was unwrapped from the foil, bare and completely destroyed by water damage as it was raining heavily for weeks. Seeing it completely ruined broke my heart. She didn't even say sorry or anything, just suggested we should throw it out to the garbage. Questions kept running through my head. How could she? Did I do something to deserve this? What am I going to tell my cousin if she visits and sees her painting? Is nowhere to be seen. My husband is also very disappointed in her, but tried to play the devil's advocate by suggesting she did it by accident. She wouldn't do that on purpose. But why was it unwrapped from the foil then? What is the logical explanation? Oh, I know a perfect place to store something very valuable to someone. I will leave it in the rain, but let me make sure to take of any protection beforehand. I told my husband I believe this was deliberate, and that she doesn't like me for unknown reasons. He asked me what am I going to do about it, and I just answered, I will keep on loving her, like I do already. I love all his family like my own, and maybe she will eventually start liking me. I don't know what else I could do. I don't know what I did for her to dislike me in the first place. I don't want drama and bitterness. I just want us all to get along. I ended my engagement because I lurked just no mother-in-law long enough to know what was going to happen if I didn't. I ended up terminating my engagement with the person I fully planned on spending my life with all, because if I stayed with him, I'd have ended up posting on here daily some things his mother did that he defended/ignored/supported. 1 insulted me to my face, from my weight to my intelligence. 2 took my fiance's ex out for monthly dinners, where they'd gossip about me and post nasty rumors on a joint Twitter account dedicated to airing out details of my private life, my miscarriage, my dad cheating on my mom. 3 told my fiance that if we ever have a child she'll dismiss it as a mistake. 4 told my fiance it's me or her. 5 slammed my hand in a car door and started crying when I screamed because it scared her. She then made me apologize for upsetting her. 6 pretended to take me out for a birthday dinner to try to connect and make amends only to stiff me with a $270 dinner bill because I should always pay for she and my future father-in-law. Out of respect, she mentally and emotionally abused my ex his whole life. So I understand why he took her side and refused to defend me. His dad died when he was 6, so she kind of used him as an emotional spousal replacement. I tried for a year to get him to go to therapy in hopes of opening his eyes to her disgusting behavior, but he thought that agreeing to therapy would be disrespecting his mom. We ended things, and to my knowledge he hasn't dated anyone since. So yeah, When you sign up for a long-term relationship, you sign up for their family too. Make sure that's what you want to resign yourself to. My thoughts are with those of you who have to deal with people like her continuously. I hit my breaking point. My mother has become a monster-in-law. I do not have a mother-in-law because my wife's mother passed 12 years ago. I'm definitely the lucky one. Just to clarify, my wife and I are a lesbian couple, legally married in an extremely conservative southern state in the Bible Belt. Right before we got married, my maternal grandmother became very ill, and we were told she had only weeks to live. My grandmother was an incredible woman with whom I was very close. So FW, future wife, and I rushed to Florida to say our goodbyes. It was decided to remove my grandmother from life support the next day, which happened to be my 29th birthday. I was, of course, devastated. My mother saw my future wife trying to console me and later pulled me aside and said that she would not tolerate any PDAs between us because this was her family and I had foisted my future wife on them, and how was she to explain to her family that her only daughter was homosexual? My mother then forbade either of us from attending the funeral. Fast forward 1 year. It is now my 30th birthday. My wife and I have been married for 5 months. Guess who didn't show up for the wedding? I decided to call my mother to see how she was doing on the 1-year anniversary of her mother's passing. I have not spoken to my mother since the wedding. My mother immediately begins berating me for abandoning my faith, tells me that I'm a sinner and going to hell, and that she cannot condone my lifestyle choices. She accuses my wife of corrupting me and taking advantage of me, and that we are incapable of being suitable parents. She finishes up with informing me that I'm a disappointment to my family and that I was raised to be better than this. The kicker is that she was on speakerphone and I was with my wife and my wife's disabled sister. My sister-in-law, who has muscular dystrophy in the developmental level of a 16-year-old, was understandably upset at what my mother had said about her younger sister, and it took us hours to calm her down. But the worst part is that my mother is an incredible mother-in-law to my brother's wives. She absolutely dotes on them and gushes about how proud she is of her daughters. She buys them expensive gifts and calls them several times a week. She posts their achievements on social media and tells everyone about what a difference they are making to the world. One of my sister-in-law is a part-time labor and delivery nurse and the other is a ballet dancer. I'm a 911 operator, 5-year veteran. I have talked people down from suicide and given parents CPR instructions for their infants. I have comforted rape victims and tracked down last known locations of their attackers. I have worked 3 structure fires simultaneously. I'm a trainer and an assistant supervisor. But as far as my mother is concerned, all of that is negated by the fact that I'm homosexual. Yup, I'm definitely the lucky one. Ex-just mother-in-law contacts me after almost 3 years to ask for gift back. So this is a story about my ex-mother-in-law. We had a decent relationship while I was married. She was pleasant enough to me, but very hard on and dismissive of her son/husband. She was also not a very nice person in general, very gossipy with a crowledge, loved to deliver bad news, judgmental etc. My father-in-law, however, was wonderful and was very close to both my husband and myself. The 3 of us often took camping trips without mother-in-law, worked on hobbies, and generally spent some time together apart from her. At the time I was probably closer to father-in-law than I was to my own father. At some point in our marriage he gave me a handcrafted gift that he'd made for mother-in-law decades earlier, with her blessing of course. It was lovely and practical, and while it wasn't really suited to her taste anymore, they both agreed it seemed like something I'd really enjoy, and I did. Cut to separation after 6 years of marriage. My soon-to-be ex-husband and I were in the middle of building a house. His parents had loaned us a nice sum of money to start it. I was the only one working to support us and pay for the rest of the house out of pocket, while husband did the actual building. He relapsed into hard drug use, started stealing money from me for drugs, taking out loans on my paychecks without telling me, stopped working on the house, and became erratic and borderline abusive. I leave him. I try to call his parents to talk about it, but mother-in-law won't speak to me and says not to contact her or father-in-law. I had left a diamond necklace that my mother had given me at their house and I asked her if she could at least please return it. She said she didn't know where it was, she might have thrown it away. She was deep into a terrifying gambling addiction at that point, so I figured she pawned it. Oh well. Cut to 18 months later. I've moved out of state. My ex had dragged his feet on filing his paperwork, and it took a full year for the divorce to be official. The legally binding agreement that we compromised on was, when the house sold, I'd get half of the appraised value at the time of separation, after paying his parents back the loan. I was owed about $10,000. About a year later, the house sold. Unfortunately I didn't have a lien on it. Stupid mistake. So when I found out, I contacted him about getting my share. He freaked out, told me I wasn't getting a dime and to get lost. Haven't heard from him since, about 8 years ago. A few months after that last phone call, his mother, who I had not heard from in 3 years, sent me an email. It was very brief and curt asking if I could please return the handmade gift her husband had given me over 5 years ago because it was a family heirloom and she wanted to give it to her granddaughter. Folks, I almost freaking lost it. There were a million things I wanted to say to her, but after consulting with my own mother I sent a reply along these lines. Hello mother-in-law, how nice to hear from you after so long. I hope your family is well, especially ex-husband. I have to say I was a little concerned for him after the last time we talked, and he refused to honor the terms of our divorce regarding the sale of the house. I hope he paid you back for your generous loan, because he certainly didn't send me my check. As for the gift, it's been so long, I'm sorry to say I'm not sure where it is. I may have thrown it away. Best wishes. Also, I still have the gift. I love it, and use it daily. It reminds both me of the kindness of my ex-father-in-law, and of the tiny petty revenge I managed to eke out of that toxic situation. My fiance says I'm the new enemy in his mom's eyes, because of the wedding he and I are planning. Hey Reddit family. So my fiance and I have been together for 10 years now. He and I are 28 years old, and have been engaged for 6 months now. We plan on having our wedding next summer. I hope and pray this COVID-19 stuff doesn't hinder our plans. Mother-in-law though, she seems to be ecstatic that this is happening and hopes this is all still happening by next summer, so we don't get the wedding that we wish to have, and that my family wishes for me too. Why is it she wishes all this? Because she dislikes my father-in-law's family and has never been able to get along with anyone, and now she hates that she's gonna have to face the music with this wedding. My fiance says apparently I'm gonna become the enemy for her because it's thanks to me planning a nice wedding that she has to deal with all the people she hates, which is everyone. She leaves and hides out whenever father-in-law's family is in town. Now she keeps telling my fiance that we should just have a tiny wedding of just us and our immediate families, no church or nice dress or anything, and call it a day. I have never in our 10 years together overstepped my boundaries when she has an attitude. I always politely say hello and goodbye when I'm at their house. I never sleep over at their house out of respect for them. And I always smile when I see her, and I'm nice to her, even when she gives me dirty looks for no reason. Has anyone here ever had a mother-in-law that wasn't supportive of the wedding? Am I just supposed to ignore this woman, even if she hates me for the rest of my life, because she hates that she has to face everyone we invite? She just has a very strong character, which is why she hates everyone. She's always shouting at everyone and just acts miserable all the time and never smiles. TLDR, how to deal with a mother-in-law that's not supportive of our wedding for her own personal reasons that have nothing to do with my fiance and I. Edit. OMG everyone, thank you so much for the support. I didn't think this many fellow redditors would be here for me and to give advice. You all mean so much to me for that, since I've been feeling pretty alone in this. I'll do my best and reply to all of you soon.